So this is Jessica Kelly with psychogender.com. This is the second video post I've made, and the purpose of these is to reiterate the point I believe in, that it is possible to be antisocial, open about it, and yet focused on a commitment to exercise restraint, whether or not that means prosocial behavior. It's ultimately in the best interest for the antisocial to not act out, as I've learned over the years with therapy. But at the same time, it can be destructive to the psyche to bottle it all up at all times. So this is just to show that it can be done. So I've noticed an interesting trend as I go through my daily blog preparations, searching for the latest news on psychopathy, thinking about experiences in my own life that I can tie into a post, whatever leads me to a writing for that day. And I've noticed a shit ton of psychopathy recovery sites. You all know these. There are websites like Psychopathy, Love Fraud, so on and so forth. They're websites devoted to people who have had failed relationships of which they are certain that the end of the relationship was due to a psychopath. Now, let's take a step back and think of this objectively. Most estimates place the incidence rate of psychopathy at roughly 1%. That is, 1 in 100 people on average are psychopathic. Now, Kent Keel, in his research and his book, The Psychopath Whisperer, notes that only 23% of adult psychopaths are not incarcerated. So the upper bound of successful psychopaths is 23%. So that would mean 1 in 400 people on the street are a psychopath, because 3/4 of all psychopaths are in jail, according to Kent Keel. So what are the odds, objectively, that each and every one of these individuals had a relationship go south due to a psychopath? Well, if the incidence rate is 1 in 400, it doesn't take a lot of mathematics to show that odds are most of them aren't in relationships with psychopaths. And they weren't in relationships with psychopaths. Now, this is something we see time and time again throughout human history. The dominant group believes that minorities are more prevalent than they actually are. Gallup just released a poll showing that a plurality of Americans thought that 25% or more of the population is gay, or bisexual, or trans. When in reality, it's much smaller. Much, much smaller. And that's the effect we're seeing here. People want to believe that a minority, specifically with high stigma, is at the root of their problems. That they're more prevalent than they actually are, and that they cause more trouble than they actually do. So, I ask you, the viewer, to take these sites with a grain of salt. They're certainly not particularly honest with the reality of the situation. And in fact, all of these self-documented psychopathic relationships had no use of a scientific tool to confirm such. These people didn't have PCLRs administered against them. It's just the words of the neurotypicals.